Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Insider SA, your guide to living better. Join us today as we open up to the different ways of measuring greatness. Lesego, aka Thick Leeyonce, turns the tables on cyberbullies to create a hit body-positive message and fashion brand. Being the first Black African to conquer Everest wasn't enough for Sibusiso Vilane. He had to climb the 7 summits and ski to both North and South Poles. Blacksmith and sculptor Conrad Hicks wrestles fire, steel and copper to his creative force of will. Seychelles artist turned designer Juliette Zelime captures the essence of her Spice Island home in show-stopping fashion. Meet Susan Prinsloo in her happy place as one of only 7 women on the planet flying these 90-year-old Tiger Moth legends. And take a road trip down Route 62. Discover a world where everything is a pumpkin and the natural spa waters bubble up at a glorious 46 degrees. At the age of 90, your gogo doesn't want to be told she's great just for being around. Like this Tiger Moth aeroplane first built in 1930, she'd rather show all the things she still does so well. That's what made one particular pilot fall in love with this aircraft.
Good day, Insider SA. I'm Susan Prinsloo. I'm at Blacksmith Aero Club today. I'm going to be flying my Tiger Moth today and enjoy the journey with me. My journey with flying started approximately 17 years ago. I started flying microlights. Someone introduced me into a microlight flight one day, and the next day I decided that's what I want to do. And I was 36 at the time, and a week later I started training for my microlight license. And then I went on to helicopter flying, which I do mostly these days. Then I got involved into a flight school at Rand Airport where they operated the Tiger Moth, and that's where I fell in love with the Tiger Moth. So I bought this lovely lady, Bravo Golf Lima. It's just an amazing aircraft.
By day, Susan is a pilot doing commercial flights, sports events, aerial photography, and advanced helicopter training.
Guys, welcome to my office. This is where I relax between flights and do some office work. As you can see, I have all my aircraft models here, and this is my baby. The yellow Tiger Moth model that you see here was also an aircraft in the flight school, which was used for conversion training for pilots, as well as scenic flights for clients. Later on, I acquired Bravo Golf Lima, which is my current baby and passion. She also flew in the flight school for conversion trainings and scenic flights, but I only fly her privately now, and I will take you around and show you my precious baby and my passion.
Before his famed World War II bomber, the Mosquito, aircraft designer Jeffrey de Havilland was best known for this beauty.
Guys, this is my baby, Bravo Golf Lima. She's called Bakgatleti, that's her nickname. She served in the Royal Air Force, and she also served in the South African Air Force. And later in the 1950s, she was sold as a private aircraft, and I'm the lucky owner of Bakgatleti at the moment. As you can see, she's a tail dragger because she drags her tail. The tail is low. This aircraft has a lot of special features, can I say, that other aircraft doesn't have. She doesn't have brakes. The pilot sits in the back. The pilot cannot really see out the front unless it's a tall person. I'm short, so I don't see anything. So I literally stick my head out the side to see whether I'm taking off and landing straight.
So many pilots who went on to fly jet fighters, the Concorde or massive jumbos, learned to fly in a Tiger.
One thing I forgot about Bakgatleti is that she still has her original seat belts dating from the day she was built, which makes it very special. They are very old and they look shabby, but they're original and they're still attached with the original cables. So the main reason why people are still so interested in the Tiger Moth is because it's a vintage aircraft. There's not many aircraft in the world turning 90 years old and still airworthy and actively flying. And also the fact that it served in the Royal Air Force and in the South African Air Force as basic military trainers, and it's still airworthy and flying. Another thing about the Tiger Moth is that there's no electrical system in the Tiger Moth. So the radio works by a bike battery, literally, which gets charged overnight, and that is your communication. When we come up to these two switches, these are my two magneto switches. Once I switch these switches in the on position, my prop will be live, and I'll be starting my engine, swinging the prop. Another interesting feature about the Tiger Moth, the engine is installed inverted. In other words, it's upside down, and that is for better visibility over the nose. Not that I have any visibility even with it installed upside down. And to complement my attire, I have this lovely vintage helmet, which looks exactly like the ones they used during World War II. And to complement my leather helmet, I have this vintage goggles, which complements the vintage look.
Next comes the difficult part.
This aircraft is quite a handful to take off and land, because she's a tail dragger, first of all. Secondly, because she doesn't have brakes. So the first thing you need to do taking off, obviously, is full power. And then you need to ease forward on your control stick to lift your tail, so that the aircraft is in a level position to build speed for takeoff. And if you push your stick too far forward, you can fall over onto your nose, damaging your prop and your engine. If the tail is too low, you build speed too slow, and you'll also not be able to take off. So the aircraft needs to be in that exact level position, and that takes a lot of practice. Just another interesting bit about the Tiger Moth is that once I've started my aircraft, I've checked that my oil pressure is sufficient, and I've set my altitude. I don't use the instruments in my aircraft.
This freedom is the payoff, and in tribute to these timeless machines, Susan was key to organizing the South African leg of a worldwide anniversary for this aircraft.
Today we're busy at the Brakpan Airfield with the Tiger Moth meet, celebrating the 19th year of the Tiger Moth throughout the world. We were very privileged though to have 7 of the aircraft out here, and we're all here. We've got a lot of safety marshals out here, and the plan today is to just keep everything in touch with the safety rules of any flight paths or fly-ins that we have at these civilian airfields.
Susan and her fellow Tiger enthusiasts hope to attract more women pilots to their ranks.
It's really sad that there's only 1 or 2 females that does this, and there's no technical reason why a female cannot be a pilot. Getting more girls into this, I think we should seriously look at exposing schoolgirls everything to flying, and it's a passion. So if they have the passion, they should be able to follow their dream and become pilots.
How does it feel to be the only woman in Africa flying the Tiger Moth? It's quite overwhelming. I only found out last week that I am the only woman in Africa holding a license on Tiger Moth, and one of 7 women in the world flying the Tiger Moth. So it's still very new to me, and I must say it feels very overwhelming, and it's quite an amazing feeling.
Any machine still spreading its wings like this at the age of 90 is rightly known as one of the greats. So too the dashing women pilot who is keeping the legend alive in our African skies. Coming up, a young goat herd with a big vision grows into the great Sibusiso Vilane, global explorer, conqueror of the highest, coldest, hardest, and most remote places on Earth. To the Top from Nowhere is the title of adventurer Sibusiso Vilane's autobiography, and it captures his journey from herding goats as a youngster in Eswatini to the greatness of being the first black African to summit the highest point on Earth. Sibu joined us outside Swellendam at one of the planet's most beautiful places to share his story.
This is absolutely amazing. I'm known for traveling and spending nights and sleeping at very wide places, rocky, frozen lands, but this is amazing.
His adventurous spirit soon saw him trade Fazenda Forest Retreat's luxury for its trails.
There are many people who don't know that there's this thing in nowadays known as the Explorer's Grand Slam. In an Explorer's Grand Slam or the Adventurer's Grand Slam is summiting Mount Everest, climbing the 7 summits, skiing to the South Pole and to the North Pole. And there are probably about less than 70 people in the whole world who have been able to do that. To sit here and say that I'm one of those few makes me just feel humbled and grateful to have been able to be exposed to those things.
The first mountain he had to climb was a childhood where there was no such thing as 3 meals a day.
I started quite late in life, meaning I'd never adventured when I was a kid while growing up in rural South Africa and Swaziland. But in 1996, I met John Doble, a friend from England, and I offered to take him on a hike in a nature reserve. And he looked at me and said, I think you have this amazing ability to walk with such ease and such ability. You don't show any fear, and I think you'll make a good climber. And then in 1996, he mentioned that an African had not climbed Everest. And I decided that I was going to do it. But we were never able to do it up until 2003, which is when then I went and did that. And I came back a transformed person.
When Sibusiso arrived to climb Everest, his training ground had been the Drakensberg and Mount Kilimanjaro. So he is proud of our home ranges.
To have such an opportunity like being here in Swellendam, in this beautiful place, I just feel at home, I feel very grateful, and it is such a beautiful place. Who would just say that this wasn't in Europe if you were to show it? But it is not, it is here in Africa.
To show off our natural wonders to the world, he was about to get more than his feet wet, courtesy of Alain Coetzee crew.
The Breede River starts in Seychelles. It runs or meanders all the way from Seychelles, Wolseley, Worcester, Robertson, Ashton, and it comes past Swellendam, and all the way down to Magas Infante and Witsa. It's about 325 kilometers long, and for the biggest purpose of the Breede River is actually for agriculture. Some farmers have irrigation on the Breede River, and then obviously we're very fortunate we do tourism, so we've got river rafting and camps and stuff that we do on the Breede River.
I'm well known for a man who conquers mountains, but well, today it's something very different. I'm going to be trying to conquer water. How do I feel about it? Excited at the same time as very concerned. Because most of people will remember those many years ago when I said I'm not the kind of guy who says no to any adventure except swimming because I can't swim. Well, let's go find out.
Courage and a curious nature are what keep pushing him to cross new personal frontiers.
I think the big thing with rivers is it takes you back to nature. By one day you can break away and you can't carry your cell phone with you. And we're made out of water. I think water is a beautiful reset for us as humans. So it's a great experience just to take out of the comfort zone into the adventure zone.
I do feel that I have a responsibility to inspire a generation of Africans that believe in themselves, because for many, many years, I think ourselves, Africans, never believed that we could do what any other person has had done before. I believe it was purely because we never exposed to it, and as such, we never had the desire to do it. But I feel that I have the responsibility to change that narrative and say, hey, we all can do it. Doesn't matter where you come from or where you grow up, where you live. We all have the ability because we are all human beings, and that's why I feel it is a huge responsibility for myself in particular. And obviously a lot more other people that have come up to just show what we are capable of doing as Africans.
That from a man who started as a laborer, became a game ranger, then achieved the Explorer's Grand Slam.
This experience for me today was just amazing. Well, I've done all sorts of adventures in my life, but the cool thing after having done this, it tells me that there's still a lot more that one can actually go out there and find and explore. There's a lot to do. It was just absolutely amazing. Water is very peaceful. I'm glad it was such a glorious day as well. And the water level is just suited me perfectly right. So absolutely delighted. I'm glad I did it.
He's guided the youngest South African up South America's top peak, and his thirst is unquenchable.
Just arrived at the foot of the mountains that's surrounding this area of Swellendam, and I'm about to explore the forest to see what is up there.
Sibusiso is fond of naturalist John Muir's words that I'd rather be in the mountains thinking of God than in church thinking about the mountains.
Just on this beautiful trail up through the forest and beautiful little river on the side. Stunning. Sometimes people always say, it must be a walk in the park for you. No, I refuse to say that, because every unique trail, every unique mountain, every unique adventure has got its own uniqueness about it. It takes you as a person to be able to be there, to live that moment. So I've had such an amazing moment walking up and looking at the beautiful trees, hearing the birds calling, and nothing beats that. It doesn't have to be the highest of mountains. It doesn't have to be the longest or multi-day trails. Just a 3-kilometer trail will give you such an amazing fulfillment if you are able to learn to be there at that moment.
His South Pole Trek funded radios for rural children to be able to learn. This walk through the Langeberg Mountains was just for a good cuppa.
Well, we might be far away from civilization or coffee shops, but on the mountain, any coffee tastes much better than anywhere else in the world.
Sibu is a successful motivational speaker with a talent for getting his audience to live his experiences as they happened.
Yeah, a day of exploring a new place which I've never been to, even though I've been to many places, has been just as equally as amazing, quite remarkable, because every place has got its own unique ability, and this one was no exception. I'm so glad that I've been able to see this part of our country.
Though he can recount such things to his wife Nomsa Vilane and their children, what he dreams of is being able to show them.
Next year will be the 20th anniversary of my first ascent of Mount Everest. And it has been my ambition and dream and promise to my family that one day I would want to take them to the base of the mountain that has had such an influence in our lives. On the day that I summited Everest, to be with my family, my wife and my 4 children, we would like to be at the slopes of that mountain next year. So that is very exciting. I'm so looking forward to it, because I get this question many times. Does any of your family members want to follow in your footsteps? Well, even if they don't, they will have to see Everest with their own eyes. Thank you very much all for joining me on this amazing explorational journey of our beautiful country, a place where I've never been. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the fire and the view over there.
As Utata Mandela said, after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to come, but those are for another day. Still to come, Seychelles talent Juliette Zelime shows how artists make for natural designers. And fantastic worlds reveal themselves when you decide to stop over instead of driving through. Living 1,500 kilometers from their mother continent of Africa, citizens of the Seychelles have long had to make do with what's here, and that creative spirit is the secret to their success.
Hi, my name is Juliette Zelime. I'm a fashion designer and visual artist. Welcome to my home. I was born and raised here in Takamaka district. This is the southern part of Mahi Island in Seychelles. I grew up with my brother, Dean, and my mom and my dad. We were raised to be patient, hardworking, and art is in our blood. That's what we all practice here, even if it's for part-time only, like my brother. I've always been in love with art, and that is one of the reasons why I've studied fine arts, and the reason that I painted all these all these paintings before. They are all inspired by nature, Seychelles environment, and this made it easy for me to find the connection from fine arts to fashion, and that's why now I'm venturing into fashion design.
Juliette did her master's degree in visual communication, art and design in China.
Growing up, I've always seen my grandma and my mother sewing. They've always asked me, Juliette, would you like to learn? I never wanted to learn back then, but now I see the relevance of it. And they used to sew my clothes. I remember for my 5th birthday, my mom did this cute little dress with the doll head on the chest here, and everybody at school wanted one just like me. I felt so happy knowing that my mother can actually make my own clothes and nobody else will have the same as I do.
Juliette's design philosophy is the island philosophy. Fun, carefree, optimistic, creative, green and healthy.
Living on an island, it's calming and refreshing, and this also definitely influenced the clothes that we wear. I've adopted that kind of style, and the fact that I was in China, being away from home, also made me realize that you live in a beautiful place, and Seychelles is a place where people come for vacation, and we are big on environmental protection. Nature is the inspiration. So the way I dress relates to my environment, definitely. Some really nice, chilled clothes, light clothing, and it reflects the island life, island vibes in general. That's when I decided to create my brand, Kaju Seychelles.
It's a line which also reflects the archipelago's history as a center of seafaring, the Indian Ocean spice trade, and never to be forgotten, the pirates who preyed on it.
I was approached by a treasure hunter here in Seychelles called Mr. Purin in 2005, and he asked me if I could paint the famous pirate Olivier Levasseur, also known as La Buse. And this is a painting that I did. It has a cryptogram and everything behind it related to piracy, the mysteries and everything to do with Seychelles. So this is the fashion section. This is where I get my inspiration and actually ventured into fashion. I believe fashion here is also influenced by the climate. We are in a tropical country, it's very humid and very hot, so we use a lot of light fabrics. And for my collection, you will see that I'll be using light fabrics as well.
A morning shopping for patterns and prints revealed the priority the Seychelles puts on our environment. Over 40% of their territory is reserved for conservation. This fashion dynamo also illustrates the spice economy in her ranges.
We are here at Arc-en-Ciel tailoring shop, and this is where the magic is happening. Those skilled tailors are taking care of the fabrics and sewing the garments for the Fashion Week. I chose this studio because of its professionalism, and I have a long-standing relationship with the owner, Mrs. Mona Achong. Because I know the owner for a long time now, it's easier for me to communicate my design with her. She can interpret my sketches easily.
I like her work because it's new. She's very creative. She's using a lot of local products, and she wants to showcase something that we've not seen for many years on the catwalk. Therefore, I'd like to, be part of it and give her the utmost help that I can,
Juliette's fashion timing is spot on as well. Her latest floral designs and motifs around cinnamon are a theme which hasn't been seen in local fabrics, and it's just in time for a rebirth in the fortunes of the spice. Exports from the islands are up, and they now have a homegrown, ever so stylish cheerleader.
This is an industry where Seychelles is slowly going into. So I think Juliette is like an ambassador to that. So I wish her luck and good luck with all her prints and everything. And I am sure she's going to do very well. She's a very good artist.
Having been away from home a few years, this has been Miss Zelime's first chance to show at Seychelles Fashion Week.
My My collection was inspired by Seychelles nature, basically the vegetation, the environment in general. And like you'll see, there's lots of greens and browns and yellows. So it's depicting the tropical environment, basically. And I think it did good.
Juliette is exciting other art students to see a market in fashion and use local skills to make work for fellow islanders. A habit of lifting others which marks this young talent out for greatness. The past 2 years especially have seen us focusing inwards, and it's now time to get outside, not only the HQ or a home office, but outside your dialing code. So, Capitec colleagues Jordan Dunn, Phumzile Andries and Isona Ndongeni decided to explore.
My teammates and I are going to be tourists in our own country, which is so amazing. We had this idea of we always hanging out in the office. Why not actually get to know each other more, explore what Western Cape has to offer? And we all went with Route 62.
I've heard a lot of great things about Route 62, so I'm excited to see all the pet styles along the way, the great food, the towns with all their great history, so I'm excited.
What makes a road trip so great is spending time with your friends, your colleagues that become friends, and just hitting the open road, having a nice playlist going, singing along.
Specializing in content and PR marketing and production, fresh inspiration is the lifeblood of Isona's work. So she was in her element out here.
What makes a great road trip for me is the flexibility that comes with it. No planning, no timetables. We just go and we make great memories together. And you guys? What do you guys like?
I love taking the open road. It takes you away from the busyness of the city. You get to clear your mind and just sort of relax in the driver's seat and eat up the kilometers.
And you, Phumzile?
Great music, great food, with a bank that makes you live better.
Speaking of which...
Ooh, guys, look at that pit style. Do you mind if we actually make a pit stop?
Just off the N1 outside Worcester, it's every shade and shape of Halloween. 365 days a year, as Chantel Fourie tells you.
The Pampoen Pad style is the start of Route 62. We've been here for 40 years. If you walk into the Pampoen Pad style, you'll see a lot of pumpkins, beautiful pumpkins that you do not normally find in shops because we import the seeds and then we grow it on the farm and then we bring it to the Pampoen Pad style. We also have lots of gifts and jams and savories and sweets and toys.
The best thing about road tripping is always finding these hidden gems, taking a nice break from driving, finding these little farm stalls, enjoying the authentic homemade food.
Look at what I got, a Soxy stuffed teddy. And the reason why it's actually called Soxy Animal, it's because it's made out of socks, locally made. And I'm thinking of starting a collection. I don't know about you guys, but Capitec makes it so simple when you're road tripping because if I forget my wallet in the car, I can just use my phone and use Scan to Pay.
That Scan to Pay features really helped me out a few times when I left my wallet at home.
Hitting Route 62 again takes you through the Robertson wine route and onto one of the prettiest, oldest towns you can drive right through, in Montague.
I can't believe how Western Cape is so beautiful. We find that we drive through these roads quite often on holidays. However, most of the hidden spots you never stop and you never see. But today I actually got to explore those. It was really amazing.
The town is known far and wide for the local hot water springs that people have enjoyed the last 100 years. Gavin Heatherly runs the show.
Avalon Springs, it's a small resort in the town of Montague on Route 62. And we're the custodians of the natural mineral springs that come out of the ground. So the water comes from many, many miles away and it filters down through the sandstone formations, through all the cracks and fissures. They estimate it to be about 2,000 meters below the surface where the water actually circulates and then gets pushed up to the surface. And it comes to us at about 43 degrees. and then it flows naturally into the pools and just keeps on flowing. We don't circulate it. It flows through the pools and then into the river.
And as easy as taking a selfie, you can settle the bill too.
I love Scan to Pay. Quick and easy to use, safe and secure. All I need is my smartphone and I'm ready to go.
All this was just 2 hours of the most breathtaking scenery outside of town.
The springs were amazing. They have warm waters. By warm, I mean hot, like jacuzzi vibes. You get in and you're like, okay, but then when you get out, you feel refreshed. And for me, that was a unique experience. And I feel like you only get it on Route 62.
Springs was a nice place to cool down after a long drive. I went on the water slides, swam a bit, and had a nice cold drinks with my friends.
I've never experienced anything like the springs before. It's a great place, great views. I was chilling next to the pool with a cold drink. I was living my best life.
I definitely recommend everyone should take the time and just drive out on Route 62. Amazing places to see, amazing people you meet at the Padstallikies. It's definitely, what do you guys think?
Definitely.
For sure. 100% agree with you. What's on our next bucket list?
Skydiving.
To live better in 2022, seize the moment. Pick your destination and start your road trip with a chance of winning a 1,000 Rand Live Better cash prize. Simply reply to the competition post on the insidersa.co.za social media platforms using hashtag #LiveBetter. T's and C's apply and can be found on the Insider SA website. Just ahead, to sculptor Conrad Hicks, the greatest story never told is how the tools of the Stone Age 2 million years ago have an uninterrupted connection to the art he creates today. Forged in the furnace of his observatory workshop, the greatness in the steel and copper art of Conrad Hicks is tempered by his humility. He sees his work as part of a continuous line of human toolmaking and the artistic expression which came from it, dating back to the Stone Age, 2.5 million years ago.
So this is my studio, workshop, forge. It used to be an old cinema, and it burnt down in, I think, 1991. And it was just a shell, which is perfect for me because I could, you know, all the burnt walls and everything fitted my purpose quite well. I've tried to keep a lot of the damage from the flames. There's some beautiful textures and things, so it's part of the uniqueness of the place.
Alongside his own work, he enjoys showcasing pieces which have heavily influenced his art.
Here, this is my gallery, and I have photographs of work that I've done in the last couple of years. I made a whole lot of these little maquettes. When I do sculpture, I make a maquette first, which is a much kind of freer way of looking at the form. And then it also helps me to work out how I'm going to forge something when I actually make it large. So I forge it to scale in a little thing, and then I'll blow it up, say, 10 times.
Distinguishing himself in art and design at Cape Technicon, he soon took his own path.
When I was younger, I studied art and then found myself working for a company that was doing restoration of furniture. I started working with the metalwork. So in order to restore them, I had to learn those techniques. I think working in South Africa in a bit of a vacuum, there really were no other blacksmiths at the time, helped me to develop things and learn how to do things in my own way. And I found that that actually is instinctive. So it made me very interested in primitive blacksmithing and African ironwork and Bronze Age stuff from Europe, and the transition from stone to bronze and then bronze to iron. There's a beautiful relationship between the forms that kind of are very, very sculptural, and we recognize that language as being the rules that we have for beauty.
That icon of blacksmithing, the anvil, remains the foundation of his technique.
So this is my anvil that I've had for 35 years.
This anvil I got before I started blacksmithing, so I think it was the anvil that drew me to the blacksmithing. I really felt that it was some huge presence in my life, a tool that needed to be used, and then I started using it and taught myself how to do blacksmithing from this anvil. Almost all of these tools I've had to make for myself in order to hold all the various shapes of steel that I have. And the hammers I bought at scrap prices and I had to rebuild them myself. They were made in the 1930s, these two. It came from the mines from Germiston. And they were used to make axes and tools for the mining industry. All of these tongs I've made them in a way which I like to make tongs. So the tools that I use to make the work and to do the artworks become part of the artwork itself. So the process includes making tools and makes the artwork, and there really is no distinct separation between the artwork and the tool. The artwork just becomes another tool whose purpose is expression.
For those who work in foundries, for fitters and turners, Conrad reveals how close their skills are to artistic expression.
The discipline of blacksmithing, tool making, is a very, very deep human, intuitive knowledge that we have. And basically, I've kind of tried to learn how to work in a way which is completely intuitive, responding to material. And that kind of only comes after working for 30 years. Your work becomes your handwriting, really. You can just express yourself through your work.
Among the pieces he is known for are his Conrad Hicks handcrafted knives.
This is a block of Damascus, which is a conglomerate steel of hard and softer layers. Some of it's got more carbon, some of it's got more nickel, so you get a kind of a contrast. It's mostly just for decoration, because the material in here, all of it is suitable for knife making, but it makes a beautiful knife. Also shows the hammer marks, and the forging technique gets enhanced by the Damascus. So I'm just working in a way which, well, while I'm working, it's so quick. So I'm just making something according to what I feel it should be. It's a completely intuitive process. And I know that because I'm using those sort of instinctive tool shapes, it'll work as a knife. Making these knives like this is like, it's like doing life drawing. Yeah, you got to hit it. It's very much like doing a martial art and playing the violin, because you have to sort of hit it and impart force very specifically where you want it to go in a very specific direction, but also you're working with rhythm and you're creating beauty at the same time.
Restaurateur Peter Tempelhoff is a long-time admirer and client of Conrad's, who has commissioned a new line for his latest eatery.
Peter from Fane, I knew him before he started his restaurant, and he was always kind of quite interested in pushing the envelope a little bit. And so I made him some beautiful bowls and things to serve food in. When he opened Fane, I gave him a whole lot of pans. And now he's designing a new menu with dishes that go on a hibachi. You can put on the table and they cook on the table. And I made these little copper pans and lids and things that go together.
Peter creates some culinary fireworks of his own.
This is a new dish of ours. It's a sashimi dish where we cook a prawn at the table in one of Conrad's pots. So this is a hibachi, and it's got a beautiful little banged out lid. So it's a beautiful piece of art. And then the bottom is the same, and then it's tin plated on the inside. And the first thing we're gonna do is this thing cooks really fast. We're gonna get the prawn onto the rock. And then we're gonna season it with a little bit of salt. Okay, cool, so in goes the water. And get that lid on really fast. Okay, then now we're probably about 30, 40 seconds. Now the prawn is done, so let's get that lid off. Man, there's nothing better than that fresh prawn. Freshly steamed, a little bit of salt, and this white soy sauce on. And then on top of the dish, we got some seaweed and some kohlrabi, as well as some kosho, which is our chili and yuzu mixed together. Our tuna sashimi with blue prawn, steamed at the table with Conrad's beautiful kitchenware. And it is just a fantastic dish. Man, you can't beat that.
Conrad's hardy, practical pans are the flip side of his pure personal expression in copper.
So copper is the opposite of steel. If you cool it down in water quickly, it gets soft, annealing. And with steel, if you cool it down, it hardens because of the carbon. but copper becomes hard when you work it, which is how the Bronze Age bladesmiths and toolmakers, they would work the copper, and it was bronze, to a point where it became really, really hard as steel.
Any piece from his latest exhibit will see you catch your breath, stop and stare.
The collection is called CU, a name for copper on the periodic table. I'm trying to just separate it from steel, and which is the traditional blacksmithing material. These new pieces are a point which I've been kind of arriving at for quite a while. It's been like, 30 years worth of work to get to the point where I can just do something which is just pure expression. It doesn't have any other function. It's just in the material. It's a kind of a word or a expression in the material. That is it. The amazing thing about copper is that it's immediate. So I forge it and it is what it is. The immediacy of the material and the way that I relate to the material while I'm making it, and that is the piece. There's just no separation.
This second solo exhibition adds to a career exhibiting from New York to Miami, among other great artists in whose company he clearly belongs. Right after this, to wildly popular body-positive advocate and fashion entrepreneur Thick Leeyonce, achieving your greatness means turning their doubt or ridicule to your advantage.
Sponsored by Capitec. Simplify banking. Live better.
Lesego Lechobane, aka Thick Leeyonce, has achieved greatness helping others by simply being herself.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube. Oh, never mind, I'm just joking. Today we're doing TV. Hey guys, my name is Thick Leeyonce. Welcome to my creative world. As a child, I've always known that I wanted to become a photographer. That was always my destiny and my calling, I feel. So I was blessed enough that I had a family that was very supportive. My mom understood that I was a very creative child and she encouraged my creativity. So she got me a camera. I think I was like 16 or something. And that's when my photography journey fully started. And by the age of 18, I'd already worked with so many big publications and I got to work with a lot of celebrities. I've shot the likes of Pearl Thusi, Casper Nyovest, Boy Titulo, Bonang. But then at the age of 22 or so, I'd already done everything that I wanted to do in the photography space. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm also gaining a lot of popularity on social media, on my personal platforms. Let me focus on this, what is going on. And before I knew it, the influencing industry was booming in South Africa. Brands were excited about it. And I used my photography skills to create content for my own self. And I thought I'd go the body positivity direction because when I came into the social media place, I was a chubby girl in shorts and crop tops, and it was kind of like, what is going on? Who is this girl? Why is she dressed like this? And I thought, just from the response of society of how they treat big women, I'll use my platform to spread body positivity, and that's how I branded myself as an influencer, as a content creator.
Bypassing conventional publications and platforms and going direct to the public via social media, Lesego found her audience.
I started my YouTube channel probably 4 years ago. Essentially, I wanted to take what I was doing on Instagram and other social media platforms and put it in video form. I wanted to carry on inspiring other women, inspiring other people to talk about mental health, but make it in a way that is fun, that is also very easy to understand. It's basically like a Dear Diary session where I just pour my heart into it. And I feel like a lot of people enjoy this kind of content because to them it feels like they have a friend, they have a sister, or they know you personally, because I bring them into everything. I bring them into my living space, my working space, my friends, or my social circle. And it gets really cool to just get to know your community like that. It makes it easier, and it also makes you seem like an authentic creator where you're not detached from your audience.
If social media made her, she also had to roll with the not so pleasant side and grow from it.
I went through a period on social media where I went through very heavily cyberbullying, where people just felt the need to every single day compare me to Shrek or to a whale or to a jumping castle or whatever, where people just felt the need to have opinions and very mean opinions about my physical appearance because I'm a chubby, dark-skinned woman. So I had to kind of learn at an early age that a lot of times when people have mean things to say about you, it's never about you. People like to project their own insecurities onto others. So I had to separate the two and realize that my purpose in life is bigger than that. Nobody has power over my life. Nobody has power over my story. Nobody has power over my identity. I get to write my own story.
Leeyonce's family are a cornerstone of her irrepressible self-confidence.
I never really had an issue with my body because my mom would always just tell me that I'm beautiful, I'm perfect as I am. So I was always such a confident teenager, a confident kid. I always was so sure of myself and I always loved my body. I've always loved wearing shorts and mini skirts as a kid. So that's why the transition of me getting on social media and being judged for dressing like that was a lot of a shocker for me. I decided to just do a little bit more research to find if there's other women who experience similar discrimination that I did. And to my surprise, I found a whole movement called the body positivity movement that actually advocated for all bodies in society to be accepted. And through that, I decided this is brilliant. This is something I want to bring to a wider audience. And I educated my followers about it more often. And as a plus-size curvy influencer, I realized that a lot of women would ask me, where do you get your clothes? Where do you get this? I can never look as fashionable as you. I can never look as good as you. In as much as big women find it very difficult to love themselves, a big part of that is also them not having access to clothes. When you don't have access to clothes that make you feel good about yourself, it's very difficult for you to even be positive and to be confident. So my business partner, Rebecca, and I decided that, you know what, there's a gap in the market. Let's actually make clothing for plus-size women. And we started Lee Bakes, and it's more than fashion. It's a community. It's an expression of loving one's body and for one to come in and feel good in their clothes and to know that I am gorgeous just like any other woman with my size and all. There's this idea that big women should wear clothing that covers them up because their bodies shouldn't be showed out, like you're too big, you've got too many stretch marks, too much cellulite, cover up, nobody's trying to see that. And I think that's really, really ridiculous because everyone owns their own bodies. Everyone has the right to do what they want with their bodies. I think I'm a sexy woman and I love showing that. I love showing skin. I love wearing revealing clothes. I mean, girl, if you've seen my social media, you know the vibes. I love my shorts. I love my crop tops. I love showing a bit of skin or even a lot of skin because it's my body and I should be able to show as much skin as I want to. So I try and create that kind of clothing for big women.
The success she has gone on to achieve as an entrepreneur is based on an understanding of her own experience.
The store is a safe space, and that's very important for us, to get that message across, that it's a safe space for plus-size women to come in. So even when you come into the shop, there's cute little codes that just remind you of how perfect and how flawless you are. Our target market is any curvy woman from a size 34. We don't have a stop size. Whatever size you are, you could be a size 56, you can be a size 58, a size 60. There's something for you, we'll make it for you because we also don't outsource our clothes, we manufacture our clothes. Everything that is in here, it's made from scratch, so it's gonna fit you just the way you want it to fit you. The shop, it's all about just energy. It's an energy thing. It's about coming in and feeling that I've got a sense of belonging here, I've got a community, I've got a place where I can come in and feel like I'm at home and I'll never leave unhappy. I'm gonna leave there feeling good about myself because whether you like it or not, when you come into the shop, you're definitely finding something that you're gonna leave here with.
It is impossible to calculate the impact and happiness that body positive messaging creates for women of every age.
My work is all about just self-love and self-acceptance because once you know how to practice those two, it doesn't matter what society tells you that you should be. You're perfect as you are. Learn to love it, learn to embrace it, and people will always treat you how you treat yourself. I teach by being. I am, and through me being me, I am able to teach others how to be themselves.
Get more of the Insider SA online. Follow, connect, engage, and be inspired to live better with the Insider SA. Watch the show Monday evenings at 5:30. Repeat Saturday at 1 on S3.